Hi guys, I know it's been a long time since I've updated you guys on anything or since I've been back on this channel, and that's because at first things were moving a bit slow and then after a while things picked up. So I think on my last video I explained that I got my action plan, had to do payment shock for 3 months, and after that 3 months I would then have had my other intake. Now I was doing my payment shock before I even had my first intake. I'm gonna put that out there. So once 3 months of me doing my own personal shock had passed, I emailed my counselor and was like, yo, I know you told me that, our next meeting is set up for the end of January, but I've already completed, if you go through my pay stubs, I've already completed 3 months of payment shock. So would you be willing to push me through to the next process, to the underwriters, to get qualified? And she said yes. So I said, okay, no problem. This was January 3rd. We had a conversation. She looked through my file. I had to pay my 2020 fees. I also in December of 2019 had more activity points than I needed, so they rolled over into 2020, so I didn't need to accrue any points, because before they can send you to qualification, you have to have had your at least 2 points and paid your dues already for 2020, which I completed. So she was like, okay. She looked through my file, everything was okay. Then this was January 3rd. So I made like a little timeline list to let you guys know what exactly was happening. So January 3rd, she said, okay, however, your rental verification has still not come back. So I was like, what do you mean? Spoke to the landlord, which is my uncle, and he hasn't gotten anything, so we had to take care of that. Long story short, I had to get the rental verification, send it to him, and have him send it back to her. So she told me she'll go ahead and submit me to underwriting January 3rd. The underwriter's process usually takes about 10 business days. So I was like, okay, let me wait out these 10 business days and see what happens. So on January 17th, I made a note in my little notes, expect to hear back in 10 days. January 17th would be the date. But then I kept logging into my account, and one thing I noticed was once you upload your file, it says pending. Once they download and view your file, it says accepted. So I realized that a majority of my files kept saying pending, pending, pending. So on the 13th, I was like, nah, I can't take this anymore. I'm going crazy. I emailed her and was like, hey, I noticed that you said you sent my files to underwriting, but 1, my status hasn't changed, and 2, all my files still say pending. Is this what's supposed to happen? Then she emailed me back on the 13th. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I pretty much forgot to do it. So I was like, okay, no problem. I mean, at that point, there was nothing I could do about it. So I was like, okay, can you let me know once you're done submitting my files, please? So then she emailed me back and was like, hey, you're actually missing XYZ file before I can submit you. So I gave her that file the same day, which, means clearly she didn't upload it on the 3rd like she said she would. But it's fine. Ended up emailing her, giving her the file that she requested. It was one of my bank statements. I think I made a mistake and duplicated another one. And then this was the 13th. So then by the following week, which was the 19th, I had conditions come back to me, underwriting conditions. It was 4 conditions. One of them was directed towards my MC, and then the other 3 were, 2 of them were LOEs, and one of them was, I can't really remember what it was, but either way, 3 things that I could have just, and one of them was I wasn't paying my rent by checks, and because I lived at home, technically, they needed some sort of proof of payment. So I got my bank statements, showed them, you know, over the past 12 months, this is how I've made my payments every time, on time. And then I also wrote the 2 LOEs, and then my counselor addressed the one thing that was directed towards her, which was to recalculate my income based on the employee verification. And I found that to be a bit odd, but I was like, okay, because for me, my income has long surpassed. I've had at least, I think, about 18% in raises since that employee verification was done. So I found it to be a bit strange, but I was like, okay, moving on. So that was on the 19th. So again, submitted to underwriting the 13th. Conditions came back on the 19th, and then responded to the conditions by the 23rd. I was out of work and I was sick for a minute, so for a little while. And then, so by the 23rd, when I came back, I responded to them. And then by the 29th, it came back with a qualified status. So I was like, yay! I'm so happy. This was actually a Wednesday, last Wednesday to be exact. And I was like, oh my God, 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 I'm freaking out. I'm so happy. I didn't know what to do. But anyway. Then I emailed my MC. Mind you, I have to, like, throughout this process, it is very important for you to understand that you have to stay on top of your MC. If you don't have a very communicative MC, it is your responsibility to stay on top of your MC at all times. So I went ahead, emailed my MC, and was like, hey, my status changed. I know you guys have the home purchase workshop on Thursdays. Is it possible that I could do the one tomorrow? Whatever. So she was like, yeah, sure. We'll put you in for the one tomorrow. Congratulations, you're qualified, which I already knew because I was already out my mind, ready to check my file all on my own. So whatever. I went to the home purchase workshop on the 30th. When I walked into the workshop, you receive a letter, and in that letter it pretty much states, it looks sort of like your action plan. Like if you've been through the process or started the process and you had your action plan, you know what it looks like. So it pretty much looks similar to my action plan, and it said, you know, keep saving your payment shock of X amount, and you're qualified for X amount of funds, and your monthly mortgage will be X amount. I got that paper, I sat down, I was on the phone talking to a friend, and I'm reading through it, and then I looked up and I realized, hey, this is not what we spoke about at all. This is at least a $70K difference lower than what we spoke about me being qualified for. So of course I was a bit upset. I didn't sign the papers because the secretary was like, oh, sign it so I can scan it in and upload it to your file. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. So I sat down. They were like, well, you know, it's kind of late. The home purchase shop starts at 6. The counselors, I'm like, well, I think my counselor is here, so can you let her know that I'd like to speak with her once she's done with, you know, the client that she's attending to. And she came out, she spoke to me, she went back. She was like, I don't understand, because she doesn't make the amount, she just submits my file to underwriting. And then it hit me as I'm sitting there. I'm just like, could it be that when they asked you when the conditions came back and they told you to calculate my income based on the employer verification, based on what I actually, rather than what I actually make now, is that what's making the difference? And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. So I was like, okay, so how do we go about rectifying this? Because this is clearly a game of numbers, not anything that I need to present. So she said after the home purchase workshop, just so happened that the director was the one hosting the shop, so she and the underwriter was there along with a realtor. So luckily for me, the office was well staffed at 6 p.m. in the evening, and she was just like, they will be the ones to rectify it, sorry guys, after the home purchase workshop. So another couple came in, they had the exact same problem. So they expressed their, concern, and the director was like, okay, don't worry guys, we'll get it fixed, we'll get it done, we'll work through it. So she went out, she did some math, we got it squared away, we got our home purchasing workshop done, which was very informative. By the way, they explained to us, and I can make a separate video on exactly going in detail about any of these things that happen. I just figured I'd make one video because everything was moving so slow, and then everything just happened like this. But I could make a detailed video about what happened at the home purchase workshop. But we pretty much just went through what's gonna happen next. Like, that's your next step after you get NACA qualified. And I must say, I'm very pleased with the office that I'm working with. I am very happy with the people that I have. I feel like they're very competent, and I'm excited to see what's the next leg of the journey from here moving forward. So if you guys have any questions, any concerns, feel free to leave a comment below, message me, like this video, subscribe to my little channel. I promise I'll give updates more often as things are happening. I'll just keep updating you guys now as things are happening. My next step is the home search. I'm using a realtor that's not a NACA realtor. Yeah, not a NACA realtor. I think I'm only her second person who's ever been through the NACA process, so we'll see how that goes. But like, subscribe, and let me know if you guys have any questions, if I said anything too quickly, if you need clarification on anything, please be sure to let me know. Thank you.